What's going on, everyone? My name is Patterson. Today we have an interesting video topic to conversate about, and I want this to be a conversation, so I want you to give your own opinions and ideas in the comment section below about what I'm going to talk about in this video, which is, what if other developers and publishers had the Pokemon series? What if they made a Pokemon game? What would that look like? And it is a very interesting topic to kind of give a little bit of thought about. And there's going to be two parts of this video. The one is going to be the speculation, and the second one's going to be, coming later, so stay tuned for that. But what if other developers and publishers could make Pokemon games? What would they look like? And I asked this on Twitter just very briefly, and people were like, oh, loot boxes, that's like the first thing that came to mind. But what I was thinking was something like entirely different. I was thinking every developer and publisher seems to have their own style and their own way of doing things and their own unique quirks. And I was wondering how that could translate to the Pokemon series, which is why I want your input. So let me know what your favorite developer is, which if it's Game Freak, then this is gonna be really easy for you. But let me know what your favorite developer, your favorite publisher is, and how you think a Pokemon game would change, or how the Pokemon series would change, or how a game would look if they gave it a crack shot, without the restrictions of the Pokemon Company, or Nintendo, or Game Freak dictating how something would look. You have totally free reign over the franchise. How would your favorite developer make it look? Okay, so to interrupt your regularly scheduled broadcasting for this video just for a second, just to show this off. This is old gameplay. This is from E3, but I just saw this and I'm thinking about, yo, what if Michael Bay directed Pokemon? Apparently, when your Dynamax Pokemon faints, this happens.
Oh yeah, that's it.
So the Pokemon is run out of health, and it's about to faint, and it just explodes! Now, I have a few developers here that I could speculate about, like, for example, Bethesda. Bethesda Game Studios, for the longest time, was actually my favorite developer. They've kind of gone downhill recently with Fallout 76 and all of the nonsense that they've been doing.
16 times the detail.
But I'm trying to think of old Bethesda, the ones that released Skyrim and Morrowind and Oblivion. How would that game look if they could make a Pokemon game? Well, first off, imagine the wide open world you would be able to explore. Bethesda are really, really good at making open worlds. They're really good at making a world seem alive. They're very good at just with the finer details of how the world might look. Now, the story probably wouldn't be that great, but I'm imagining a Pokemon world where you start in a town and they just say, okay, just go out and have fun. Just go anywhere, do anything you want. Now, would an open world really work for a Pokemon game? I think Bethesda could pull off, and there's a few different ways that you could do that. For example, that you'd have the world level with you. So, kind of like a Crystal Clear situation. If you've ever played the Pokemon ROM hack Crystal Clear, the world kind of levels with you depending on how many gym badges you have. So you can go out and you can explore this entire place, and if you enter an area that's too high level for you, because there'll still be areas that you can't go into, well, then that's tough. If you enter an area, if you go to the Rocky Mountains, straight up to the peak of wherever you're going, Mount Silver immediately, and you see Garchomps wandering around, well, that's your fault. You get smacked in the face by Garchomp immediately. Sucks for you, I guess. Also, Bethesda is very well known for having many side quests. So much content. Like, ridiculous amounts of content in their games. You'd be able to explore. You'd be able to go to different towns. You'd be able to see what the issues are with people. It would almost be like the anime, in a way. You'd go to different towns. You'd speak to people. You'd understand their issues, and you'd try to solve them. And maybe you'd get money for that. Maybe you get items for that, and that could be a really cool idea. Now, I imagine that the writing on this game probably wouldn't be amazing, but it's worthy to think about. And you could create your own character. Character. Bethesda games are all about role-playing and making your character and playing that character. You could design what they look like. You would even have dialogue options. For the first time, you'd walk up to someone and you'd be able to choose dialogue options. You'd be able to have a conversation with someone. Maybe if BioWare made a Pokemon game, how would that look? Now, BioWare, responsible for the release of games and series like Dragon Age, and Mass Effect, and more recently Anthem, but we're not gonna count Anthem because we're not gonna count Anthem. But how would a Pokemon game look if the creators of Mass Effect made it? First off, the characters would be really strong. BioWare are really good at making characters. And it most likely wouldn't be a wide open world because BioWare didn't usually do that back in the day. They kind of had hubs. They had hubs that you would walk around and you talk to people, and then they had areas where combat would happen, and then they had areas where missions would happen. A Pokemon game with missions? How would that look? Instead of just walking around and gathering gym badges, you'd be in a hub world that you could then proceed to certain areas from with your characters, with your friends. Again, it would be somewhat like the anime. Imagine a game you're traveling around with your Brock and your Misty, and you're collecting your companions, and they have their own Pokemon. Sometimes you'll battle alone, sometimes you'll battle with your Brock. Obviously, it wouldn't actually be Brock, but it would be a really strong character, a really well-written character that has their own Pokemon and their own character arcs, and you see how their Pokemon grow and evolve and become stronger, and how their team changes, and how they grow and become stronger as you go through the game. And sometimes you'll battle with them, sometimes you could even battle against them. If you're, for example, out in the wilderness and you're like, oh man, it's late, we'll set up camp for now, and one of them comes up to you and they're like, hey, you know, we haven't had a fight in a while. Let's throw down, dude. And you know how their team has developed and you can fight against them, but they know how your team is developed. So, you know, some advanced AI can make some predictions based on that. That would be cool. I'm just spitballing ideas here. And I know I'm just kind of rambling, but I think it would be, it's such a cool, like, thinking exercise. Like, what if different developers and different companies had access to the franchise? What would they do with it? And is it a good idea? Because the second part of this video is me discussing, would it be a good idea to just give the Pokemon franchise to other companies to work on? Not specifically big companies, you know, like that, but there has been other companies that have made spin-off games like Pokemon Colosseum, Pokemon XD. I really liked Colosseum and I really liked XD, and I think the reason that I really liked them so much is because they really went for something different in those games. There's no gems, first of all. There is a bigger focus on the story. There's the shadow Pokemon situation. And just having that kind of glimpse into what could possibly be different, it really gets me excited. And that was just like, that was just one option. That was with the restrictions that, for example, the Pokemon Company and Nintendo probably put on them. They're like, hey, you can make a Pokemon game, but it still has to be this, and it has to do this, and it has to do this, and you can't do this, and you can't do this, and you can't do this. What if other companies had just free reign over the series? I don't want to sit here and say bad things about Game Freak, but I do think that Game Freak is making games that are potentially far too similar all of the time and every year, and I feel like that's for a few reasons. I think that Game Freak is maybe a little bit done with the Pokemon franchise, or maybe it's the restrictions and the time constraints that the Pokemon Company and Nintendo put on Game Freak, because you have to have a snappy release schedule. You have to release on time. You have to make sure it's in time with the release. You have to make sure it's in time with the anime. And with the games that are coming out, now don't get me wrong, I still enjoy the Pokemon games. I still think they look good. I still am excited to play them, but I just wish they were better. I wish for something different. I wish that, for example, we would have another Shadow Pokemon game. Or no, not even a Shadow Pokemon game. Maybe I'm being too restricted in my thought with that. If you gave the series back to, I can't remember the name of the company. I think it was like Genius Sorority or something.
Look how they mess with my boy.
If you gave the series back to them, what would they come up with next? What would be the next cool thing that they could do? Because they made the whole idea of Shadow Pokemon, and they made really cool, more story and character-based games that really took you somewhere different, and it shows that it can be done, and Game Freak won't do it. Game Freak has always made games based around gym badges, based around not entirely strong stories. Now, you may say that, oh, but, you know, Generation 5 had such a strong story. I only think that Generation 5 had a strong story when you compare it to other Pokemon games. I don't believe that it had a strong story by itself, which is why I'm thinking that there's so much potential with the Pokemon series. There's so much that you can do with it. But since it is the biggest multimedia franchise in the world, and it has the anime and it has the TCG, and I feel like it's being almost held back by its success. which is a really strange thing to hear, and I know it sounds really strange, but I just wish that someone else could take a stab at it. Even like with Call of Duty, you see that there's 3 different development studios that make games for Call of Duty. I believe it's Sledgehammer, Treyarch, and there's one more that I can't remember the name of, but there's Sledgehammer, Treyarch, and the other one that all develop games for the Call of Duty franchise, and they're all pretty similar, but at least they all get to do their own takes on it. What if there was 3 different studios? Like, there was Game Freak that could really take time on their game, and then there was, you know, Genius Sorority who does something very different with the story and the pacing of the game. But the gameplay stays pretty much the same. And then there was another company that really switched up the gameplay, you know, made it something entirely different, made it its complete own beast. What could you do with the Pokemon gameplay if it wasn't a turn-based RPG? Every single time. There's so much potential, I think, and there's so much you could really do with the series, and God, I really wish they would take some more risks in that regard, because I think that you could be so good with it.
What the fuck am I doing with my hand?
That's just my ramblings as a fan of the series, as someone who loves the series. There is incredible amounts of potential, and I want you to share your opinions. If another company were to, you know, get the franchise and create games for the franchise and had total free reign, what kind of game would you like to see? Would you like to see a departure from turn-based, you know, strategy? Would you like to see something potentially open world? Go as in-depth, go as crazy as you want in the comments, you know, let your mind run wild, because I love discussing things like this, and who knows, potentially, maybe one day we will see something like that. But I don't think we're gonna see it from Game Freak. I feel like Game Freak has kind of lost the passion that they once had, maybe for making Pokemon games. And I also think that's due to a lot of the restrictions and a lot of the time constraints that are put on them. Obviously, they're under a huge amount of pressure to create and release games regularly so that the merchandising can continue, so that the TCG can continue, so that the anime and the movies can continue, and they can keep milking this cash cow consistently. But what if it was different? What if things were different? Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know how you think things can be different, because I really think that they could be amazing and incredible if they were given a shot. But that's gonna be it. I just rambled for like 13 minutes, and you know what? It made me happy. It made me happy to kind of get my thoughts out there, and I can't wait to hear yours. So let me know in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Thank you so much to our Twitch subs and YouTube members of the day. Remember, if you are a YouTube member or a Twitch subscriber, that both gives you access to the sub Discord, and I appreciate you supporting the channel. Thank you so much, guys.